wow. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Full House Sports here with myself, Charlie. Reminder before the video starts to please like, comment, and subscribe. Anything you guys do is greatly appreciated as I try and become a one-man sports news bandwagon. And talking of news, seismic news just now that has happened in Zenica in Bosnia, which is that Bosnia and Herzegovina have beaten Italy on penalties, which means that they will advance to the 2026 World Cup in North America. And Italy, who are the four-time champions, are going to miss their third World Cup in a row, which I don't know whether it's, I mean, maybe it's not, but there's going to be a generation of kids growing up that thinks Italy just don't go to World Cups. That Italy is some sort of international minnows. The first World Cup I remember was 2006, like vaguely. I don't remember the ins and outs of it, but like, I remember the big moments. And I remember Italy winning that World Cup. I remember watching Italy-Australia and Italy obviously breaking Australian hearts. I remember that game. And then Italy breaking German hearts. They were just this immovable object who were unstoppable at that tournament. And 2010, it went pear-shaped, of course. They went out in the group stages. 2014, obviously, they broke England hearts early on in Manaus, and then went quite badly wrong again, losing to Costa Rica, and Uruguay scores the Suarez bite, and then no more. We lost them. I can't really. I mean, I'm a lover of Italian football, I'm a lover of Serie A. Anyone who watches the channel, anyone who knows me knows that. But the problems with Italian football lie a lot deeper than this result tonight, and I was discussing this with a good friend of mine who is of Italian heritage. Well, a few of my friends are of Italian heritage. And it's just, there's a real, I think, problem, a deep-rooted problems in Italian football that need to be sorted but aren't being sorted. You know, for example, Serie A, I mean, as much as I like watching the league, I've said this before on videos, the coaches in the league, it's very samey. A lot of them are on the merry-go-round. You think Pioli, Juric, I know he's not Italian, but Allegri, they all go and do the rounds. They all go and get the jobs. There's a lack of, I think, outside ideas. And that's not always a bad thing if you've got a style of play, which is something else I think Italy have abandoned. I think Italy's academies and Italian sides have abandoned what made Italy so good. Now, I'm not saying go back to the 1920s Catenaccio style, but Italian defences, even up to a few years ago with Juventus, was frightening. And you've now got this situation where they're not anymore. They don't play that way. They also don't produce number nines. And that's something that I think is quite frightening. I know Esposito played. I think he will be a good player for Italy, Esposito. He missed the penalty. I hope that doesn't break him because he's a fantastic player. But when you think back to the era of Italian nines, you know, Francesco Totti, Luca Toni, Antonio Di Natale, Alessandro Del Piero. You know, the names just reel off the tongue. There's so many. There's not that anymore in Italy. You know, Kian, we saw him at Everton. He's not amazing. And Esposito's obviously young. Immobile's probably best years are behind him. And then what's left? Retegui, well, he's out in Saudi Arabia because he was paid a lot more by the Saudis to go there. So it's a real, I think, just, I don't even know. There's other things as well. I think the academy's outproducing the players that Italy require. I think the coaching's not great. I think there's an arrogance around Italian football. I also think there's a lack of investment on and off the pitch. You know, I'm not saying Serie A needs to go back to the 90s when it was the league. It was the Premier League of the 90s. But Serie A, I think, is filled with a lot of bang-average non-Italian players. I think you look at the sides that play the likes of AC Milan, Juventus, those huge clubs, and they're filled with players who, in my opinion, are... who have probably been to bigger clubs in in England or France or Spain, and are then outcasts. And I think that's a problem for the league. It's stopping perhaps the Italian players coming through, the young players. I think there's fundamental problems with the youth system as well, because Italian youth sides haven't been doing well. And it's culminated in them having to go into this playoff where, listen, they gave Bosnia's team talk for them. There was the video of them celebrating when Bosnia beat Wales, which, I mean, is disgraceful. And karma is a you-know-what, and they've had karma. But for a country with the footballing size of Italy, and the league like Serie A, and the fans, and everything else that Italian football is all about, to miss 3 World Cups in a row is just baffling. And it's quite something, you know, that they're going to miss North America, where there obviously is a big, large Italian diaspora, and they're not going to be there, which is, yeah, genuinely not even sure where to begin. There'll be a lot of soul searching, I think, on this one. I think the first, I mean, again, but the first ever champions to miss 3 World Cups. Again, just, the stats will always reel off. When, like I say, when you were growing up, 2006, 2008, even 2012, they got to the Euros final. Even 2020, they won the Euros. They broke English hearts. To not get to a World Cup is baffling. So much work he's doing with Italian football. It's not going to be a quick fix. You know, people saying Gattuso out. Who'd you bring in? De Zerbi's just gone Spurs. He'd have been the most likely candidate. And then who next? Who's a young Italian manager in Serie A? Because you've tried Spalletti, the tried and tested. That didn't work. Gattuso was clearly a panic appointment to get you to the World Cup. It hasn't worked. If he goes, who else? Palladino, maybe. It's the only one that immediately sprung to mind. Could you tempt Simone Inzaghi from Saudi Arabia? Maybe, but it'd take probably a lot of money because he's the highest paid coach in world football, by all accounts, at Al Hilal. So where are you going to go? So it's a real problem. Wow. But congratulations to Bosnia for all the bad things. Congratulations to Bosnia because, again, I've said this a few times, I don't want to brag. I went there earlier this year, one of the most beautiful countries I've ever visited, some of the most beautiful people, and a team who probably, out of those 4, Italy, Northern Ireland, Wales, Bosnia, you probably had the lowest. You probably had as the outsiders to get through. So it's fantastic they've got to another World Cup with Edin Dzeko aging like a fine wine. I'm really happy for them. But I think the story that will overshadow this is Italy. As always, guys, let us know what you think. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Anything you guys do is greatly appreciated to try and become a One Man Sports News bandwagon. As always, have a great day.